Okay, so somebody mentioned in the comments with the button-up shirt that they wanted to see how it was graded. So this is how I grade the button-up in the iGraphic program with the iPad Pro 2018. So I took the pattern, I made it empty fill, and right now you can see me organizing the patterns to kind of be lined up. Just you don't even need to do it like this. It just visually works better for me. It kind of keeps my brain organized. So we got the sleeve, we got the cuff, sleeve band, the sleeve cuff. We've got the left and right shirt front. We got the placket. Now you copy everything. You've seen this before in previous videos. You want to copy it and then you want to make a new layer. Lock the original layer, the medium layer. You can see it's locked. And then paste in place, which is in the upper left-hand corner. Now we have two of the exact same patterns right on top of each other. The bottom pattern we cannot mess with. We physically can't mess with it because it's locked. And on top we have the pattern that we are going to manipulate. So we're grading, my grade rules are the shirt grows 3/4 of an inch per size. Small is smaller, large is larger. And we're grading it around 2 inches. So that means if the shirt is, let's say for example, 38 inches around medium, then a large is going to be 40 inches around large. And then the small is going to be 36 inches around. Those were arbitrary numbers. We're not using those numbers. And this is how I split the grade. From the neckline down, that's going to be 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to write it in a second. From the arm, shoulder seam, that's going to be 1/8. Oh, okay. So we are raising the top part of the front 1/8 of an inch. Oh, actually, you know what? I think it's a 1/4 inch. Okay, sorry about that. We're actually raising the mid armhole 1/4, and then the bottom will be going down a 1/2 inch. So that equals the 3/4 inch grade. Oh, looks like I'm repeating myself. Okay, and then so from the neckline, it's going to get an 1/8. Mid shoulder seam is going to get an 1/8. And the bottom of the arm side is going to get a 1/4. So that means this part of the pattern just got graded 3/4, no, or let's see, 1, 2, a 1/2 inch. Yeah, so when we do each section of the shirt, it'll equal 2-inch grade when we're done. So you have to like split that 2 inches evenly amongst all the pattern pieces. So we want to make, if it's a 2-inch grade, we make sure that all the adjustments we made equal 2 inches. So right now I'm bringing the front placket out 1/8 of an inch. Unfortunately, this graphic program, it's called Graphic, but it's also a graphic program, doesn't really have consistent incremental, see how I'm incrementally moving the cursor? It doesn't work the way it does in Illustrator, so you have to kind of eyeball it, or just, each little of these teeny tiny little squares is a 1/8 of an inch square. So that's how you're able to eyeball the grading. So for example, I am highlighting with our direct selection pointer all the points that I want to grade out. So now I selected them all, I moved in, and okay, so here I made a mistake. I'm going to go back and correct it, but I moved all the points from the shoulder seam out 1/4 of an inch. And though we can do it like this, unless you're really good at grading, it can confuse you. So I'm moving it back to 1/8 of an inch. I'm nudging it back to where I started so that I can start over again. Because remember, I showed you those slices a couple minutes ago, that's where it needs to be sliced. So right here is where it needs to be sliced, 1/8 of an inch. So I selected everything and I'm moving it over 1/8 of an inch. So you can see that it's pretty much one little square is 1/8 of an inch, so I moved it over the one little square. Now this is going to go out an additional 1/4 of an inch. Okay, I should have done it one more, but it looks like I messed up again. Okay, so don't do literally what I did. I obviously was trying to haul ass through this, but I should have moved it over 1/8 of an inch more, and I didn't catch that when I was doing it. Because the side that I just did, that gets a 1/4 inch in addition to the entire 1/8 inch from the seam. And I know that's confusing. If you know grading, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know grading, try to follow along as best you can. This stuff can get kind of complicated and confusing, especially from someone who's not really good at explaining things, such as myself. Okay, so right now I'm making sure that these lines are consistent and parallel with the lines below them. And also don't forget to raise, for the large, you want to extend the bottom a 1/2 inch. And I believe I already did that. Right now I'm just checking to see if it looks right. The reason why I put all these in a row like this is because I wanted to just grade them all at the same time. Now the neck stands, the neck, I keep wanting to call it neck hole. These get graded a 1/2 inch. So we're going to do a 1/4 inch on the left side, 1/4 inch on the right side. I did all three at the same time, so it was just easy. That's kind of a part of the reason why I have everything lined up. It's just visually easier for me to not get confused. I've been grading for quite a while, and I still get lost if I'm not paying attention. So I'm raising this 1/8. And just like the front, the back is going to get the same sections graded as I did the front. That's how we're going to get the 2 inches all the way around. So right now I graded the yoke up 1/8 of an inch, and now the side is getting 1/8 of an inch, and then under the armhole is going to get an additional 1/4 of an inch. But since I have to match it to the front, which is also messed up, this grade is going to be a little off. But you do it correctly. And now we're going to do the same to the other side. It goes 1/8 of an inch out. And then the side will get, it's supposed to get an additional 1/4 inch, but I just did an additional 1/8 of an inch because I messed up. It's okay, it'll still grade and it'll still sew together. It just wouldn't be the proper grade that I wanted. It wouldn't grade up as large as I wanted it to. We're going to make sure, so the bottom is a 1/2 inch grade down. And I can see on the right hand side that I didn't include the back yoke in the grade, so I have to go back in and make sure it's consistent with everything else. You can see that the yoke, if you're noticing that the yoke is a little bit smaller than the bottom back panel, that's because the yoke is cut on the bias, so it stretches, and I like to stretch the yoke to match the bottom panel, and it kind of just makes it match up a little bit more, makes it a little more comfortable on the back. It's super, you don't have to, you can have them match exactly. It just depends on what you design. So now we're doing the sleeves. Sleeves are a little bit more confusing because you raise the crown, the sleeve cap, horizontally, while the edges get graded vertically. I'll show you what I mean. So right now I'm bringing the sleeve down, I think it's a 1/2 inch, or is it half? Okay. So I brought the sleeve down a 1/2 inch. The sides, it's gonna go out maybe a 1/4 inch. Okay, so the sleeve is getting graded a 1/2 inch around, because a 1/4 on each side of the sleeve is a 1/2 inch. And that 1/2 inch is matching the shirt. We graded the bottom arm size a 1/2 inch, so it's gonna match up, although if I would have done it correctly, it technically should be 3/8 inch. 3/8? Yeah, 3/8. We're raising the crown, the cap, sleeve cap up, I believe a 1/4. Or an 1/8. Maybe I raised an 1/8. You want all your graded lines to be consistent. So consistent. For example, if you graded the armholes, arm size, you add up all the grades that you did. So when you sliced it and raised it an 1/8, then that's got to be raised. That's got to be done to the sleeve. Then if you do it another 1/8 on the back of the shirt on the arm side, that's got to be added to the sleeve. So it's all got to be consistent. If you don't understand grading, this is going to be so confusing. I understand that. You can just try and follow along as best you can. Grading is definitely something you got to commit to if you want to learn it. It's like a language. If you want to learn it, you got to be doing it every day. Just be making patterns and just practice grading them, and then practice cutting the patterns out and sewing them together. And then as you see the mistakes that are made, you'll slowly start to understand the logic of grading and how it's done. At first, it just seems like you're just moving a bunch of points around to make it smaller or bigger. And essentially that is what it is, but there's a little more to it than that. There's a little bit more, it's a little bit more specific than that. So now I'm doing the small. So I was blabbering while I was showing you, but you go back to the medium, you copy the pattern of the medium, lock the medium layer again, create a new layer, put that layer below the medium, and then paste in place. And now we are downsizing. We are grading the medium down to a small, and this is where we're at right here. Same concept. You use the same numbers you did to make it larger, and we're going to use those same numbers to make it smaller. So you can see that I took the sleeve cap, I lowered it probably an 1/8 or a 1/4 inch. It looks like probably a 1/4 inch. And right now, you can see me adjusting the handles because this program wasn't made for grading. This is just, you gotta use a little bit of ingenuity, and it's not perfect. It's not a program that was made for patterning. It'd be so awesome if they did update this program to have more features like that, but I don't think they update anymore. Now we're just going back. So if the large was raised, if we moved it up, those points up an 1/8, then from the medium to make it small, we're going to move them down an 1/8. So I'm just doing the same exact process, but in the negative direction. So you'll go around, and you can, even if you forgot the numbers, you can still see the pattern. Like when you're grading to a small, you can be like, well, I'm going to use how big you can use sight, I'm pretty much saying. You can take those 2 points and not know exactly how much you need to lower it, but if you make it the exact same, kind of like a consistent pattern, in this case, that will work. Not in all cases it works, but in this case it will. So we're just going in reverse. I'm taking all these, it's going 1/8 of an inch in instead of out, and then this side seam and bottom arm side is going in 1/4. It should have been 3/8, but I messed it up, I know. Now the bottom is going up 1/2 of an inch, and we got to make sure we do that to the placket too. So the placket is right next to the shirt, and that's so you can visually see if you're grading that one correctly too. It'll tell you if you're not exactly sure what you're doing and it just doesn't look right, such as what I'm doing right now. You can see me correcting the top of this, because you can clearly see that doesn't look consistent. It looks like that bottom line on that button placket is not right. So I'm going in, I'm trying to figure out which layer it's on, and I'm making it consistent. So you can see that that is now matching the grading of the shirt. The plackets and the shirts are all aligned. Now I'm renaming it graded. You can see the neckline needed the grade, but it's the same concept. You just go in and just do it in the reverse direction. And that's it. All right. I can't remember who requested this, but this one is for you. I hope it helps you out. If not, let me know if you have any questions. All right, bye.